the next part of speech, conjunctions. What are conjunctions? Conjunctions basically are little words which join parts of a sentence or even sentences. So they join words, they join phrases, they join clauses, and they join sentences. Now, if you don't know what are phrases and clauses, don't worry, that is what we are going to do in another lecture. So, conjunctions join. Now, some types are the most common. Suppose I ask you to give me examples of conjunctions, I think most of you will give me and, but. They belong to the category called coordinating conjunctions. Okay, there's a very easy way to remember coordinating conjunctions, and that is fan boys. That is the best way to remember coordinating conjunctions. For, and, nor. So for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. These are coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are the conjunctions which actually exemplify what people think of when they think of conjunctions. You know, they just join things. That's why coordinating. They coordinate parts of a sentence. So for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so, fan, boys. That's the best way to remember them. The other type of conjunctions are known as subordinating conjunctions. And subordinating conjunctions join a main clause to a subordinate clause, and that's why subordinating. Now, if you don't understand this, you will have to wait. We will discuss this in detail in the phrases and clauses lecture. Okay, so subordinating conjunctions are conjunctions like while, because, and so on. That's subordinating. Then we have something called correlative conjunctions. And correlative conjunctions are conjunctions which come in pairs. So either or, neither nor, not only but also, and so on. Okay. So these are coordinating conjunctions. So more or less conjunctions, this is all that we need to know about them. Then we have something called interjections. This is the seventh part of speech as far as we are concerned, and interjections display or show emotions, and they are not necessarily related to the rest of the sentence as such, and therefore you separate the rest of the sentence with the interjections or from the interjection with the help of an exclamation mark or a comma. So for example, wow. So either well, I need to, whatever. So these are interjections. The interjections denote emotions, and since they are not related to the rest of the sentence as such, you separate them with the help of an exclamation mark or a comma. Okay, so let's come to the last part of speech, prepositions. Prepositions, as the name suggests, is a preposition. Okay, so prepositions are supposed to be placed before something. However, this rule is no more 100% applicable. It used to be the case, by the way. It used to be the case that if preposition wasn't before something, and I'll talk about that, then it was always wrong, but no more, and I'll explain that. So anyway, but yeah, still usually a preposition is a preposition. It is usually placed before something. Okay, so let me start with an example. So suppose I say the book is on the table. Okay, now this is a preposition. These are little words. Prepositions usually are tiny words, and they tell me something. I'll come to that, but first let's look at the preposition part. They're usually placed before a noun or a pronoun. Before a noun or a pronoun. This noun or a pronoun is known as the object of the preposition. Okay, so why is a preposition called so? Why is it called a preposition, meaning a preposition? Because it is usually supposed to be placed before its object, and its object will always be a noun or a pronoun. In fact, that brings me back to something that I've already told you. Remember, I told you a rule that nouns and pronouns can only be subjects and objects, and subjects and objects can only be nouns and pronouns. That applies to the object of a preposition also. Okay, so what that means is that nouns and pronouns can be three things, one of the three things. So subject of a verb, object of a transitive verb, or object of a preposition. Similarly, these three things, subject of a verb or object of a transitive verb or object of a preposition, can only be nouns and pronouns. So remember that when you think of that rule, think of three things, okay? So a preposition is usually placed before its noun and pronoun. But now let me come to the actual meaning of a preposition. A preposition tells me the relationship between its object and something else in the sentence. So basically, prepositions show connection or relationship, okay? Usually the relationship is of space, as you can see, on, under, around, across, behind. Usually the relationship is of space, but sometimes the relationship can be of time. So for example, since or during or until. Sometimes there's some other relationship, but mostly the relationship is of space. So let's define a preposition. Prepositions are those tiny little words which are usually placed before a noun or a pronoun, which is known as their object, and they tell me the relationship between their object and something else in the sentence. Okay, now let's come to the usually part, meaning they're usually placed before a noun or a pronoun. Let's look at a question. Okay, so suppose, and if I follow this rule in a question, then my question will be something like, from where have you come? Now I'm following the rule, the preposition is before its object and so on. Compare this question with an alternative question, which is, where have you come from? From where have you come? Where have you come from? Which one sounds better to you or sounds more elegant to you? And as surprising as it may seem, elegance is a huge component of grammar. So grammar over a period of time has also tried to make sentences elegant and not just grammatically purely correct. Okay, so if you think about the second question, where have you come from, sounds more elegant, sounds better, and so it is acceptable, whereas it is breaking that preposition rule, because the preposition from is right at the end, it is before nothing. So sometimes we can break this rule, but remember, more often than not, the rule is followed. A preposition is usually a preposition. Okay, so that's a preposition, and this takes care of parts of speech. Remember, I told you we will go into a little bit of detail, not too much. We are not supposed to be grammarians here. We are supposed to do things as with respect to CAT and GMAT, but something which prepares us better for these two things. Now, this is the knowledge that we require for subsequent topics. Remember, I told you in the beginning, we are doing this only so that when we try to do pronouns, subject verb agreement, and so on in detail, these classes are going to be the helping point, meaning I will take the help of the things discussed in this class to explain those concepts, and that is why these classes are important. This one and the next one, phrases and clauses. Okay, so until then, thank you, bye bye.